What's shaking, everybody? My name is Ross Mandell. I'm coming to you guys live today from Delray Beach, Florida. I'm at Scott Woolley Studios. I got a really special treat today. Cin Fabre, Haitian immigrant family, born and raised in the projects in the South Bronx, literally defied the world of men, the world of Wall Street, sort of my arena. And I know how tough it is and tough it was for a young man to fight his way into getting a seat in a boardroom at a stock brokerage house in the 80s and the 90s. A young black girl from the Bronx, the projects, I really got to say, it's impossible. It's one, not in a million, one in a billion. And today we're going to meet a fantastic young woman that actually accomplished this miracle. She became a full-on stockbroker in a completely male-dominated world, and she wrote an incredible best-selling book, Wolf Hustle. It's really, she really just captured the essence of what was going on at this time. And for me, this is so special because this is my arena. I was one of those gladiators. Cin, so great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. I need you to like intro me to everything, even if I go into a party. That was dope. I like that. Thank you.
I'm your guy. I mean,
Yeah, you are.
but
Yeah, you are.
you are hot stuff, baby. I mean, I remember being a young man and trying to fight my way into Wall Street. I got into the E.F. Hutton
Yeah.
training program in 1983. And
Ooh.
like I was in a class of 12 in New York, a class of about 140 nationwide. And out of those 140 people, a year later, there was like 30 people left. I
Yeah, those
mean,
numbers make sense.
and there
Yeah.
was only like two or three women, just so you know. There were no white women, let alone a black girl. I'm being honest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was
I know
like,
what it looked like. Yeah, I was there, so I get it. Yeah, I know what it looked like.
and I owned a
Yeah.
couple of brokerage firms, and we had a couple of black guys, and that was considered a little, I was considered a
Yeah.
little like aggressive. Like my friends were like, "What, bro?" My friends would be
Yeah.
like, "He's black," and I'm like, "Oh, really? You
Yeah.
figured that out?"
What's wrong with you?
Right, and it's really crazy. And then to see you, I mean, what on earth brought you to Wall Street? You were 19? Was it?
I was 19. Yeah, I heard about the stock market on a lunchroom line ticket and when I was in high school. And the guy told me he was in the stock market. I'm like, what's a stock market? I had never heard the words. I had never heard the words until that time. And so I was like, this is interesting. Yeah, I want to do that one day. And I found my way there a couple of years later.
How? How did you do that? I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was an eyeglass salesperson, loved it. I worked at Cohen Optical, still around. They have a bunch of stores. And this woman walks into the store one day, and I'm like, all right, this woman definitely needs my help. Like, she'll spend some money if I get her to get a credit application. She writes on the credit application, I make like 10,000 plus a month. And I said, what do you do? And she goes, I'm a stockbroker. And I'm like, if this woman could be a stockbroker, I could be a stockbroker. There was nothing about her that screamed stockbroker. First of all, she was a woman. I was like, oh, wow, women are stockbrokers. She didn't have like a fancy suit, big glasses. She had frizzy hair, there was nothing about her that screamed, I'm working on Wall Street. And so 2 weeks later, I get an opportunity through a friend of mine at a club called Trenta in Queens off of Northern Boulevard. And he's like, Cin, oh man, I've been looking for you. I'm working on Wall Street. And I'm like, really? Oh man. He's like, come down. I'll get you an interview. You'll get a job. You'll make millions. And, 2 weeks later, there I was at VTR Capital.
It's unbelievable. I mean, and VTR Capital had, from my viewpoint, and I'm considered like one of the most notorious brokers in the history of the world.
Yeah.
VTR Capital was really an edgy place. I want to use nice words. It,
Look, it's not for the weak-hearted. That definitely not. And yeah, if you know about it, you know about it.
now, now here's something like because I'm podcasting now and I do a lot of financial commentary and I have a mastermind and all these kind of things, and I meet women pretty much every day out all over the place. Most women to this day still don't understand anything about the stock market. I'm just going to make that statement because I'm out and I talk to
Yeah.
people. I'm a chatty guy. I genuinely like people. I'm very aggressive, physically and with my words. I'm a communicator, and I love to meet people. I love to talk to people, and they're like, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I was in the stock market." They said, "I said, you know about the stock market?" They look at me like, "Oh, yeah, I heard of it," and but like they don't know. And this was in the '90s. You're a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Stephanie, who I know you've been speaking to a little bit. She comes from the Bronx,
Yeah.
and she found her way into my firm. I hired her as a sales assistant, but really because she was gorgeous, blonde, blue-eyed, and I was smitten with her.
That tracks. Okay.
Right, and my prior sales assistant was an ex-girlfriend, a hottie from Long Island, and she actually became a broker. She got licensed, I should say. She didn't want to run a book,
Right.
but she got licensed so she could get overrides and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you actually became a stockbroker. Is that
That's what I wanted to do. I never, I didn't listen. I was sold by the number of guys I saw making it in the business at that time when I came in for the interview. And I didn't think there was anything special about those guys. I came from the Bronx. I came from immigrant. There was, like these guys
correct?
were a lot of them were Long Island guys. They were pool cleaners. You know, what they had was just a script. That's how I was sold. You just read the script and it's going to make you the money you need to make. And I'm like, there's no one better at being able to sell. Like, there's no way that these guys are making millions and I can't. And so that was the attitude I walked in. I didn't walk in with this baggage that I'm a woman, I'm from the Bronx, I'm black. I come from immigrant parents, and they always said to me, we are raising you in the best city in the world. There's no better city than New York. If there's anything you want to do in life, you can do it in New York. And so for me, it was like when I walked into that room, I never saw myself at the disadvantage. I thought I was the advantage because there was no one else there like me that looked like me. And so for me, I'm like, oh, I'm that dark horse. I'm going to be that unicorn. I'm going to be the person that blows this up and out of the box. And I got to tell you, man, as fucked up as that community was in so many ways, they all want you to make money because the more money you make, the more money the firm makes.
A hundred
So
percent.
that's that was what it was about. They were going to give me everything I needed, all the tools, the skill set, to just say this is what you need to do. And I think once they saw my personality, they let me go. They were like, "All right, we're not going to hold this girl back. She's going to surprise us." And so, that's how I end up having success there. They just were like, "Go for it."
It takes a certain type. So whatever it is, you got it. Now, you wrote a great book. I mean, I have to say, a lot of people try to capture the essence of that world. They try hard, a lot of people.
Yeah,
The reason the
I
Wolf of
could
Wall Street,
imagine.
the reason the Wolf of Wall Street was so great is because it was a great book. Jordy wrote 1,200 pages and turned it over to Joel Gottler in Beverly Hills. And Joel, if you read the acknowledgments, who's a friend of mine and represents me now, turned it into a 500-page, like it was an incredible book. And still, he sold 5 copies in the first couple of years. No one was interested until Jordy went on television during the '08, '09 too big to fail crash, the mortgage crisis,
Right.
and
Okay.
he talked about fraud because there was a famous market scandal at that time, and that's around the time I got indicted, by the way. But in this book, you give your mother a lot of credit. You give your mother a lot of credit, and you talk about your dad. Sort of, you use the word abusive, which was fair to say, I guess. But I want to hear this in your words. Tell us your story. Who is Cin Fabre? Like, tell us about your life and how this came to be.
Wow, I don't know how much time we have, but I'll give you the Cliff Note version. My parents are Haitian immigrants. They came with the dream that they can do anything in America. Why many immigrants come. And all my life, I remember growing up as a kid, my mom was like, whatever it is that you want to do in life, just do it. always open your mouth, always stand up for yourself, just speak up. I feel like so many more people don't speak up. People are quick to get behind the screen and tap and bully and online crap. But back in the days, if you're growing up in New York, you got to speak up. And I'm growing up in the Bronx projects. My mom would send me to walk through the projects at 8, 9 years old to send me to Catholic school. She was like, no matter what happens, I'm going to make sure you have an education. I won't pay my rent, but I'll make sure I pay your school bill. So you'll always have education. You need that to some degree. But the rest is up to you. You whatever skill set you learn, use it. And so my mom was an entrepreneur. She didn't know the language. She came here, she figured it out. She started a teddy bear business, sold teddy bears on the street. The cops tried to steal and take her merchandise. She did side deals with them. She learned how to stay on those streets and make a living, eventually buying us a house and, moving us to Queens. But, one thing I take away from my parents is they had drive. She worked, got up 7 in the morning. She always made sure there was food on the table. And she never said, Cin, you're a woman. You have to navigate this world differently. She never said, you are Black. These are things that are going to be held against you. She just said, you're born in New York. If you are born here, you can do anything you want to do. And I took that hard. Like, I took that as gospel. And here's the thing, like, when you're a kid, you don't always like your parents. You know what I mean?
True.
She was really hard on me. She didn't let me go outside and hang out with the neighborhood kids. She also made us feel we were better than. She never made me feel that we were less than. She was
Wow.
like, Cin, you are better than 95% of the people you're going to walk in the street with. She used to tell me, you're better than these people. We are not project people. We are living here because of our circumstance, but that's not who we are. We're not going to be here forever. This is just a short term thing for us, but we're going to move on. And guess what? My mom saved $100,000, a lot of money, in the 90s. As a Black
Real money.
entrepreneur, real money. And I remember when she told me, she's like, I have $100,000 saved. We're going to buy a house and we're going to get the fuck out of these projects. And my father was kind of a charming guy. He was, he's a hustler in his own way. I got to tell you, I respect the hustle that my dad did. He came to this country as well, was a cab driver. He got shot in the face, though, he always said it was my mom that got him set up, whatever. I mean, I lived in that type of household. It was very abusive in a lot of ways. He poured itching powder in her car so she could itch to death. When you're growing up in that type of household, it's like every man for themselves.
Well,
As
say
a
that.
kid, I
Explain
felt
that.
that
Hold
way.
on. I just want to. I'm confused. Your mom and dad had issues between them. You're saying
Absolutely.
he
Yeah.
was rough on her. He was physically abusive or
He
emotionally?
was physically a buff. Yeah, he was both. My mom was rough on him too. She wasn't just taking things,
Right, right. I get it. It takes two to tango sometimes. Sometimes it's just one bad person. What did you just say
Yeah.
about getting shot?
Yeah, they just, I grew up in a household where it was a lot of back and forth and they were actively trying to kill each other. And as a kid, I thought that was normal. Like if you're mad at someone, you try to kill them. That was kind of the household we grew up in. So, I remember being 8 or 9 years old, and why it stands out is my mom had to buy a dustbuster. I don't know if you remember back in the days, dustbusters, how you cleaned your car.
I had, of course I do. I had plenty of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, my mom had a dust. She's like, I got to buy a dustbuster. Your dad's trying to kill me. And she took me outside and she's like cleaning up all the itching powder that he poured in the car.
He took
So,
itching powder to purposely get your mom. He put that in the car.
yes, it put it so my mom could itch to death. And she was like, oh, he never thought about what if you guys sat in the car? What if you guys itched to death? Like it was,
Oh,
and she just said it so normally. I didn't think anything of it until years later. I'm like, that was weird. And then, within a year, he got shot. He was driving a cab. And he said my mom set him up, so they fought about that. And she's like, I didn't
is
set
that
you up.
possible? Is that possible that
Oh,
happened?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
But my mom said if I wanted you dead, I'd make sure I'd do it myself. Like I wouldn't pay that type of money. Like I
Right.
don't have money to waste. She said she didn't have money to waste on that. She'd do it herself. And my mom was hardcore. Yeah, I believe her. I believe, if she wanted him dead, he would have been dead. Absolutely. She'd have no remorse about it. But, growing up that way, I thought it was normal. I didn't think it was a big deal, right? So right off the bat, that's the kind of household I live in,
I get
and
it.
but I also saw two parents that worked for everything. They worked hard. They figured out how to live in America and figure it out and become business people. And so, for them, they were giving me the dream that they wanted. And so I appreciate that. That's what I take away from it.
I love that. You know, one thing that really stands out, and I'm not even sure you know, because I'm 68 years old and I talk to everybody. You know, my mother used to tell me you could be anything you want. You could be president of the United States. She used to tell me this when I was like 3 years old. And I'd be like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be president. What if I don't want to be president? She goes, you can be. You could be a
Yeah, you
doctor.
can
You could
be.
be a lawyer. You could be anything. Like she instilled that belief in me. And because of that, it's like programming. It's in my DNA. I never have any fear. I could be anything. I can do anything. I believe that. As long as I don't try and fly, jump off a building, my friend. But like Stephanie, her father said, "You're going to be you're a good looking girl, and you're going to marry a guy, and you're going to have babies. I'm not going to send you to college. I don't want to waste my money. You're going to work in a deli, and get a guy."
Wow.
Like they beat her down like you can't be anything, and that's programming. And this
Right.
stunning woman, is battling that program throughout her whole life. So when she does accomplish something, like she's almost shocked and happy, like she's so blessed. Like I'm saying, listen, you can do anything. I try to tell her, I tell my kids, but people like us might not realize how blessed we are just for that one bit of programming. Because if your parents say you're nothing, you're going to be nobody, just go marry some guy and get knocked up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
that's why that happens. That's what I've learned now over the course of my life. So God bless your mother. And even though your dad sounds like he was a little nuts, not in a good way, you saw the hustle. That's
I saw
important.
the hustle.
He wasn't shooting
Yep.
dope and laying around the living room, right?
No, he wasn't. He was out there hustling hard. He always had a new scam.
Right.
And, part of his scam got us robbed when I was 13. I never forgot that.
Tell us about
People
that real
came.
quick.
Yeah, my dad used to sell passports, to people in Haiti. The guy, and
Right.
he stole your house. He went to jail for it for some time. He'd married like different women, and he'd take the deed to your house, and become have ownership of it. And then he always had some scam going. And you're like, damn, dude. I always think he could have done so good if he just
Right.
channeled it
He
differently.
could have went to Wall
But
Street.
sometimes yeah, look, some opportunities come in different ways, and I'm not judging him for it. I try to take the good from him, and he was abusive. Obviously, he wasn't great. He wasn't the best father, but he was a father. He was around, and I got some of the best things from him as far as like to be charming, learn how to talk to people, be cool with everybody. He was that guy that was cool with everybody on the block. My parents' moms loved him. So,
Right.
but as you said, like the biggest thing was my mom just continuing to always say, you could do whatever it is you want. There's no limits. So walking on Wall Street was not a big deal to me. It really wasn't. It doesn't, even today, I don't look at it like, oh my God, this mega feat. Oh my God, I did something extraordinary. To be the youngest Black woman at that time on Wall Street, and still, I think now the girl that initially a few years ago was 22. Yeah, it's something I can say that I can be proud of. But at the time, I was just doing my job. I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Let me
You
say
know?
let me say this to you. So I was locked away for a minute. I'm out since January of 24, and I'm addicted to the financial networks like I was back in the day. I've been watching CNBC since like the day it started, and Fox Business. And I'm going to say that there's a nice black guy, Charles Payne. There's a big
Oh,
presence on Fox Business. There's no black women. I'm just telling you right now, none. No analysts, no research people, no economists, no black women. So I'm not even aware of that because I don't see race like most people. I see people. I really don't. I do not see color. The world is forcing me to in an odd way, but I really don't see color. I went to prison and they put me in a cell with two big black guys, and everybody said, "Bro, we don't mix race here. We'll get you out of there in a day. Don't worry." Blah blah blah. And shout out to Mike Brown and Antonio Henry. These are my brothers. I don't.
yeah.
I'm not like that that cat because that's the programming I have since I'm a kid. In my family, it was no such thing as race. You were a person. Doesn't matter if you're from Guatemala, you're from Haiti, or where you're from. It's who you are that matters. Not where you came from or what color your skin is. It's who you are as a person. And yeah, the good or bad, like that. That's my early programming. But there's still so since I got your book, literally more than a month ago. Great book, everybody. Own it.
Thank you.
And I started to think about this podcast because you made an impression on Stephanie. And that's the way to get to
Oh,
me.
wow.
My close people know that. You know,
Oh, okay.
she has a direct line to me. No matter what I do or say, she has my children and at my heart. But I started thinking about black women on Wall Street because of you, because of this book,
I'm in the mind. Good.
because of this podcast. And I don't see any black women on any of the financial networks. None. Not one, which I find very interesting. I want you to know it's just I'm
Hmm.
just going to put it out there now because I know that you're going to start a podcast. Tell us about that real quick because I have a million things to cover with you. But you're going to start.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be dynamite. Dynamite.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, listen, it's called the Queen of Nothing. You know what I mean? Because
Say
I'm
it
the
again.
queen of
The Queen
nothing.
of Nothing.
It's the queen of nothing,
I love that.
because
Great
I'm
name.
just like, whatever. Yeah, I've lived in different countries. I don't mind moving to a new city. I don't mind pivoting, expanding, branching out, and trying different things. And actually, one of my boys that I worked in the business with, Buckmaster, his name is John Buckmaster. He started in Wall Street with me at 19. White guy, best friend. I smoked my first blunt with Buckmaster. I'd
Give him a
never
shout
smoked in my
out,
entire life.
Buckmaster. Shout
Yeah,
out.
John Buckmaster. I call him Buck. And Buck and I, and we just like, we reminisce about the Wall Street. We worked at VTR. We worked at another firm together. He went off to work in London for a few years.
Oh,
But it's just to have real conversations, have people like yourself on, ex-brokers. And we want to hit different generations, right? We're going to have the Queen cohorts that are, we're Gen X. We'll have our, Gen Z, millennials, whatever. But we just want to have conversation. Like, we want people to start talking again, right? Because we're so disconnected. And we want to be able to just say, hey, we remember what it was to go to bed analog and we woke up digital. So Gen X is this kind of weird spot where no one shits on our generation because there's nothing to shit on. We did it all and we're good. We still come out as good people. So I think what I'm going to do is have successful people on, no matter what their industry, what their career, have them tell us what it was to get to where they had to get and how they were able to do it. And I want to inspire people to have some goddamn confidence. Like, nothing has to be that hard, really, in my eyes.
I think that it's a great, great niche. Anything to do with the street, the world is interested in. Just so you know, a lot of this Wolf of Wall Street, that movie, it's become a cult. Everybody wants my story just because they love this subject matter. It's fascinating to
Yeah,
people. One thing
absolutely.
when you start as a bro, you're alive. There's nothing more lively. No, there's no place with more good energy
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
than a boardroom where people are trying to make a living. When you're trying to get a commission,
Absolutely.
people say, "What's your salary?" I said, "Salary. I don't have any salary."
Yeah.
Well, how do you make money? I said, "You eat what you kill. You learn how to kill." Well, how much you make? I make about 200,000 a month. What? No salary. Correct. Why would I want? I never understood why would I ever want somebody to tell me how much money I can make. Why?
Yeah.
I never understood that question. I want to be in a position, a job, a company, a business, so that I determine how much money I make. So if I want to go buy a car, I don't have to go ask somebody, can I get some money? What is that about? I'm a man. I'm a man. Why would I want to go into another man or a woman tell me how much money I can make?
Yeah.
Now, when you're married, I understand you go to your wife and say, how much can I have?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I believe, if you're married, your wife should be a queen. So I love that. You're a queen? The queen of nothing? Are you a
I've been
queen?
a, I, I'm a queen to myself right now. I'm going through my second divorce and I'm happy. And it's funny you say that, being alive. I still feel great. I feel fucking awesome. I feel like I don't feel sad. I feel excited about life. There's so much
Me
left to
too.
do.
Me too.
There's so much left for you to do. All you did was take a little time out, right? And you're back
Correct.
on it. You're
Correct.
back on it. And that's what it is, right? We're cut from that cloth where you're just like, yeah, dude, that was just a little setback. I'm good. I've learned for it. Now what's next? And there's nothing about your age, there's nothing about your gender, there's nothing about how you present that's going to make you feel any differently about how you go forward. And that's how I feel. That's what I'm doing, you
I
know?
wrote a book before I went to prison in 2013 called Rock Solid. It's available for $20 on my school and my school community.
Okay.
I just want you to know. In it, I write my favorite word in the English language is the word next. Next, because there's always another deal, another customer, another relationship, another love. I mean, I've loved and had to move on from a relationship. I'll always have some love in my heart for certain people, women and men. But
Absolutely.
next is my favorite word in the English language. Because if you want to, you without hope, you have nothing in this world. Without hope,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so the word next leads directly to hope. So you said you're going through a second divorce right now.
Yeah, I'm going through that. And I feel very lucky to be able to can say that twice in life I was willing to meet someone that I would have done anything for, and to be able to have that love and to be able to. So when people are like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like, no, dude, like not everybody gets that. People don't get it once. And,
Correct.
and I have four great kids. I love my kids. I have two boys and two girls. And I'm here to just say, do what you got to do. You mentioned you have two daughters. So you know what that is. We're here to encourage them because the world is filling them with so much doubt. We didn't have that same access to doubt when we were doing it. No, you back then you had to write, come into my face, right, to get your message across. But they have technology where a million people can tell them they're shitty in a day. So we're not dealing
Yeah.
with the same. We're not on the same playing field, So we
No.
have to have different conversations with them as they get older and what they need to do, and try to just not let everybody mind fuck them so much. So it's a harder job, believe it or not, as we're raising our kids.
It's wild because I mean when I was a kid there was no cell phones, no computers, nothing. Today everybody's barraged with data and stimulus and it's all electronics, all technical. I raised two daughters, and they would have relationships with young boys, but they only met once. We
Wow.
were kids. You went outside. You were wheeling and dealing. You're talking. Or you had to go to a girl and ask her out. You couldn't text her. You couldn't check out what she looked like in different outfits. You actually had to meet her and go out and so I feel like they're they have a lot of advantages, but there's a lot they're missing. I hate to say it. I hate to say it. Um, it's it's uh, it's a wild for a guy like me to see all the different. I mean, you have every tool in the world now. I could meet
Yeah, you
anybody.
do.
I'm build a company sitting in my house on house arrest because I can just DM anybody and get in touch with them. We have access to 8 billion people today, literally. But let me ask you a question. So, I came down to Wall Street 83. I was a single guy. There were no women. It was all men back then. I'm telling you, there was no women. There were
No.
sales assistants, the
Right.
secretary, sometimes the analysts. So, I mean, you're a very good looking woman right now, and I can imagine you, young girl, excited, vibrant. I mean, what was it like? There was no Me Too movement. Everybody must have been hitting on you, right? And the money, it's very
Yeah.
sexy. The energy. Closing you know, opening a new account, closing a guy that says no 5 times, and getting him to spend 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand on the phone, knowing you're going to make 3, 4, 5, 6 grand, whatever the numbers are. I mean, it's very stimulating. No.
Yeah, I think, man, you got me back into that seat right now thinking about it. And that's part of why I wanted to do the conversation because, only a peer would understand what that is, that excitement, that the high stakes. I love the thrill of it. What we were taught and everything I know is every no is a slow coming yes.
Correct.
And, of course I was harassed and you know what? I've been harassed all my life. So being in a brokerage room Yeah, it's a different type of harassment. Guys hit on you. Had a had, had a breast reduction now, but I had huge tits. I was, 19. I had a skirt on. I didn't think anything of it. Like I was just
You
like,
had a
yeah, they
breast
should hit on me.
reduction. You had a
I had
breast
a breast
reduction.
reduction years later after 4 kids. Those things didn't look the same. So I'm
But
like,
when
yeah, we
you
got to
were
get rid of
when so
them.
you're obviously you said you had a big rack as we
Oh
say,
yeah, yeah. That big knockers are in my mom's side of the
and
family.
you're
We're all big
you're
boobs.
very good looking. I mean, so these guys must have been all over you. Come on, I
Yeah,
mean,
I know how to handle guys. Like again, I came from the Bronx, and
right?
these guys, they didn't know if I was going to shank them or smile. So I guess they were like, you know what? Let me just. They mess with me, but not too much. But I could handle it. I knew how to handle myself, and honestly, I thought it was good old fashioned hazing. I didn't think it was, when
Right.
they would anything that came up that could have been perceived as racist. Listen, we were all in this little section making racist jokes to each other. We all were doing the stereotypes. We're all
Correct.
making Mexican, Jewish jokes, black jokes, Latin jokes. It was how we survived the pit. If we didn't do that as co-callers and just have that, then what else did we have? We needed to have that community. So I don't think any of us at that time looked at it as anything more than all of us just having a good time. So
Agreed. I agree with you, and I
that's the way
get
I
it.
looked at it.
I love that hearing that from a woman because God forbid I
And a
say it.
black woman. Yeah, yeah, I said
Well,
it.
if I say it, all the women start yelling at me like, "Oh, it's we everybody everybody was a kike, a mick, a nigger, a spick. The words that we all threw at each other, nobody cared. I remember having a fist fight in the boardroom, but at 4:30 we were out drinking together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It was like a lot. It was very edgy, but it was all about getting rich, winning, winning, and all of a sudden everything became like a penalty. Racist, sexist, misogynist. I don't even know what some of those words mean. Misogynist. You know, uh, all this craziness and the Me Too movement and all that stuff. I mean, I just remember the competitiveness of trying to be great, and that when somebody like yourself in the boardroom did well, I got excited because like she did it,
Right.
I could do it. He did it, I could. I'm a monkey see, monkey do guy. If you show me how to do something, I might not be as good as you. I might do it different than you, but I could do anything. That's my programming. And so guys, I really had a lot of mentors on Wall Street. I'd ask a guy if I could sit in his office and just take notes. I just wanted to hear how he sort of handled himself on the phone. There's a skill set and there are levels, right? And I would just sit and listen to a guy, Mike Cavanaugh, big shout out, Oppenheimer Company, 1985,
I
and
know.
it would be, I learned from that. I learned from everybody. I'm not. Every day that goes on, I realize how stupid I am relative to yesterday. And whenever I think I'm smarter, I got all the answers, I want to bang my head against the wall because it's a lie. This is a wild ride we're in. This journey called life, and the fact that you come from my background. We're talking about what went on, and in the brokerage business, in the boardroom, men and women, the conquests. I think it's amazing, and I love this subject matter, and I thank you for being here today. There's all kinds of great questions that people would love to know. You know what I mean? If you had to sum up a little bit about your experience, I mean, what did you learn from that? Because I guess it was just a moment in your life, correct?
It's a moment of my life that you take away. Like if everybody could have that business model of how they trained us and how they taught us and they showed us how to survive, and nothing is that hard. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't get into your head. One of the things they used to say, Sin, when you're asking for the big dollars, don't think about what's in your bank account.
Correct.
Don't be, because, if you have $10, how are you even asking anybody for 20? It's like,
20,000.
so yeah. So it's just like, that was one of the things I had learned at 19. Don't worry about what's in your account. always ask for the order. You know, you got to ask for the order. And people need to do that in business and friendships and love and anything that they want to do. You got to ask. You got to say something, you know? And so for me, I would sum up like, would I do that business again? Absolutely. 100 times. I wish
Nice.
most people could go through that because then they wouldn't be crying and they wouldn't be as sensitive. And listen, I'm not saying that what people aren't feeling is not valid. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that, you know, we're getting so caught up in the minutiae of stuff that don't really matter that we need to just kind of remember what really matters. And for me, working on Wall Street has taught me so much. And I'm so proud to be part of that industry. And I'm so proud to be part of that community. And I wish, you know, I had a little bit more time. And again, actually, I wish I could just sit there for a few days and just look around and say, we will never see times like this. There will never be a time like it was in the 80s and 90s on Wall Street. We'll never see those times again. They can't be repeated. We can't write enough about it. We can't do enough movies about it. You have to be there. And so, yeah, we're part of a great community, you know, a great time and a great era. And I'm
I
so glad for it.
I love it. You are, I guess, 19 when you went down to the street, right? That right?
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
you
19.
started out. It was a cold caller. How did you start? Trainee? What was the deal?
Yeah. It was a
Connector?
cold caller. Cold caller had to do, you know, make $500 a day. Promised my books after 3 months if I did, you know, got enough leads from my broker and I could, you know, take the test, become an account opener and, you know, off to the races.
So
And
you
so
would
I
get
did that.
you would make connections. Did you actually get leads early on?
Oh, absolutely. Like, you know, I think it was, well, first of all, you know, cold calling is not easy. You do need skills. You can't just be like, hey, my name is Cin Fabre and just go. You got to be like, you got to get through the gatekeeper. It's all about how you talk to person. So if the guy's name is Michael, hey, is Mike around? You know, I did those things.
Right.
Is Steve in there? Is Steve around? Oh, like who is it? Well, tell him it's Sin. Well, Sin who? Oh, just tell him Sin. He's familiar. Okay, Sin. What is this about? It's personal business, man. Can you get him on the phone? So it was just like one of those things. You had to be quick. You had to be able to get through that gate, get the guy on the phone. Look, sometimes he cursed you out because you're like, oh, you told my girl you knew him. You know, you knew me. And I'm like, well, I didn't say that. I just said you'd be familiar. You're not familiar with VTR Capital. We're one of the oldest and largest boutique firms on the Wall Street. So then it's all about that, right? It's all about getting the guy on the phone, getting him to say yes, getting that lead out to him, and hoping that when my broker called him back, he'd do business.
So
So that
so
was the process.
so you would dial the phone. You get a guy on the phone. You get through the secretary, the assistant, whatever. You wanted to get to the main guy whose name was on that lead card, right?
Yeah.
And then you would basically introduce yourself, introduce your firm, ask him see if you could ask him a few questions. Understand, you know, did he invest in the market? How much should he have in the market? How much would he put in a great idea if he thought it was really great? How many relationships does he? How many stockbrokers does he have? What else does he invest in? Right? All these kind of
Yeah.
these qualifying questions, so that ultimately you would send him your track record, the introductory package, all that kind of stuff, right? And then you would hand that lead to a seasoned broker who was licensed, and the hope was he would close that account, right? That's the deal.
That's it in a nutshell. All about qualifying the guy, making sure he wasn't, you know, he was qualified. And if you got your guys that had a million plus, they were considered whales. I'm sure you remember that. And you know, yeah,
Yeah,
that was the name of the game. Yeah.
I love it. So, you know, I know that was my life really. And at some point, you started to study for the Series Seven. Is that what happened?
I started, so 3 months after I asked for my books, and my broker wasn't really ready to give them to me. He liked that I was a cold call. I was feeding him business, and that happens. You know, what happens
Correct.
is if you're that good, sometimes they want you to stay in your place. They don't want you to move up. And I could see that was going to be the problem. So what I did was something that changed how I went forward. You know, they would have us pitch the room as cold callers, and every day everybody would be shitting in their seats, hoping one of, you know, the biggest broker of the firm at the time was Matt Bloom, and he'd point around and say, "You pitch me, you pitch me, you pitch me," and you'd have to get up in front of like whatever 150 people and do your
Yep.
cold call pitch and hope that there weren't marbles in your mouth and hope you weren't going to get humiliated. And every day we went through this and no one wanted to do this. And everybody was hoping they wouldn't get called. And one day I just got the fuck up without him calling. I was just like, I was so over it. And I pitched him without him asking. And he was so impressed by that. He was just like, you know what? You see this girl? She has more balls in here than any of you guys in this fucking boardroom. Never said that. You guys are acting like a bunch of pussies compared to this girl. And that's how I got my books. Because of that one thing that I did is how I got my books, because they were in their minds were like, if this girl can just pitch us and talk to us and just go out there, then she's going to be a big broker one day. And that was the catalyst.
I would have immediately hired you. I bet, everybody's front. You would sit there hoping nobody would call on you. And
No, I wasn't that person.
I would rehearse all night when I was very young. I would rehearse and all that. I could do it in my sleep even today. But it was like I remember. And if somebody like you stood up and volunteered, that was an aggressive move. That was what it's all about. It
That
takes confidence.
separates you from the boys from the men.
100%. The wheat from the chaff. Exactly right. Like I said, there's levels in business, levels in life. And, you never know where your level is if you don't know there are levels. So at some point in your new life, I guess, when you went down to the street, you were single.
I was single, yeah.
And how many years did you work on the street in the
I
brokerage?
was there for about 7 years or so.
7 years. Wow. And at some
Yeah.
point, you got married or you left the business. What happened?
I left the business. I shacked up with one of the brokers. You can't help it. You're like, you shouldn't shit where you eat, but sometimes it happens.
Everybody
And
does.
yeah, and it was one of those things. But yeah, I left the business after 9/11 and just kind of walked out and just, decided that I had enough. I did what I was supposed to do. I had a great time, and that was my time.
I love it. And at what point did you decide to write the book?
I decided to write it probably about 4 years ago. I want to say I said, "Oh, let me write it." It just came to me. I'm like, you know what? I keep watching movies. I keep hearing everybody talk about Wall Street. But let me tell you from the lens of a woman what it looks like, And I wrote it cinematically, purposely, because I wanted to sell it. I wanted to be in the entertainment business. And I had decided at that point in life I wanted to be in the entertainment business. Well, how do I get there? Well, why don't I write a great fucking story? And I just wrote the truth. The book took me 3.5 months to write.
Wow.
And as before I, and obviously when you're writing a book, it has to be bookish. It can't just be fuck you, fuck you, fuck you on every page. You
Correct.
have editors that are like, look, son, we got to give some background story here. You got to
Yeah.
talk a little bit more, talk about your family. And so I was able to first round sell it to Macmillan, with one of the big five, and Holt is one of their prestigious lines of their company. And they were just fascinated. And it was also timing, right? The George Floyd had just happened. I come
Wow.
out with this story about how we're winning. Not all stories have to be, a certain story of where we're perceived as, being in this type of woe is me, black people. We can show stories we're winning. And I was a black woman on Wall Street that was winning, and I wanted to share that story to inspire people.
I think that's a great thing because I don't know that any young black woman ever wrote a book like this, right? There's no
Oh,
one else.
absolutely
There's
not.
no like Me Too book, right? Like that. You have a very unique story, and now that we're meeting. We never spoke before, right? It's our first time,
Never. First
and
time.
and I can tell you that you have a very unique voice, and I think it's an important story because I think, like I said to you, there are no black women or any of those financial shows. And I never thought about it even. I don't think about these things until I was preparing for this podcast because Stephanie said that she speaks to you on the phone and she really likes you, enjoys you. So she thinks that you're a talent, let's say. We're building a media company. And so then I started to consider a black woman on Wall Street. I don't think about these things. I'm really a very primal, basic guy. And so now I'm insensitive to it. And it's great that you did this. And what was it like? I wrote a book, so I know that when you get into that head, you start reliving things, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, somebody asked me if it was therapeutic, and I said, "Well, I never felt any trauma from it. I felt only good things. I only had good things. My experience was so different. I think from all our experiences are going to be different, but I take the best out of what Wall Street gave me. And I stayed up at one point 48 hours, and I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I've never drank coffee to this day. Never had one. And so
You've
to
never
just
had a
sit for
cup of
40,
coffee. You've never had
never
coffee.
had a cup of coffee. Never.
You would be
And yeah.
dangerous on coffee, baby.
Yeah, I never
Watch
did
out.
hard drugs. Yeah, I just never did it. My dad, when he was young, if he didn't have coffee, he'd have a headache. And I remember saying as a
Yep.
kid, I don't want to have a headache if I don't have coffee. So I was like, I'll just never drink it and I'll never have those problems. So I just never drank it.
No
And,
drugs. No drugs.
no drugs.
Not even
Nope.
when you're
Never
on the
done.
street.
Never.
No blow.
No.
No coke. Nothing.
No, I never did it. I just didn't want to because those guys were acting like fools. Like, and also
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of times they had to do those drugs to get on the phone. I didn't need to do that to get on the phone.
Right.
I was able to get on the phone and just use my talent as just to speak. And I also saw that some of them became sloppy. They became addicted. They
Oh
lost
yeah.
themselves. And I came from a strict Haitian household, man. I wasn't even allowed to say the word pregnant. I would say someone was having a baby. So my mom, I was never going to be something my mom would be disappointed in. She worked too hard. She taught me
Wow.
too many lessons. I was not going to disappoint her. Sometimes you got to have a code. We could all have a dark side, but you have to have a code to some degree about what things you won't do. And that was the one thing I wouldn't do.
We all have those, I guess. Yeah. When you put it that way, I agree with you. But it's interesting how your mother had such an impact on you that way. I mean, what a woman. I'm just going to say that, that she instilled that in you. You never wanted to do something that your mother would be disappointed in. You know what I'm saying? That's a big
No,
deal. That's a big deal. I had that a little bit, but I crossed that line. But unfortunately, I did that, in my life. But she held me to a very high standard. A very high standard, almost ridiculous, too much, really. But I've heard you reference her a few times in this podcast, and I take my hat off to her because she did a good job instilling certain things in you, and it's great. I mean, I can see the woman in front of me, how she could handle that environment. A lot of guys I know that I'm friends with today, they spent a couple of years and a couple of minutes on Wall Street, but it killed them. It was too much for them. They
yeah,
didn't really succeed, and they never built a net worth, etc. Because it's a rough place. When you start making the money, you can start making real money. You know what I mean? I know guys, even drug dealers. To this day, I hear and they say like, well, they started selling Molly, and all of a sudden they made like 10 grand, and that's like a lot of money. And I sit and listen, but in my mind, 10 grand is it's a ticket. It's really not that much. You know what I mean?
it wasn't. I don't think. I mean, the way I was spending it, I was at the strip clubs. I was doing the Hamptons houses. I was front row seat of my Yankees. I was at the Giants games. I was at Knick games.
Right.
Like 10 grand was nothing. Like
Nothing.
honestly, it was nothing. I could have lost that in the street and been like, all right, it's 10 grand. I
It's
lost.
ten
It's like
grand,
losing
right?
$1. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But
listen,
that's the world.
money.
That's the world we come from.
Right.
To the
I
regular
mean,
world,
it's
10 grand. Like it's like, it's great. Like that, some of the guys in prison were like, "This guy's a big guy. This guy ran Palm Beach." Just and I said, "Really?" And I got to know him, and I was like, "Well, how much money did you have?" Because it was one time I actually had 100,000. One time, he had 100,000.
wow.
To me, that's what I made in a month. And it's just a different thing. You just mentioned strip clubs. Did you ever go to strip clubs with the guys?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, that was where I was at whenever we had parties, IPOs. We were all about the strip club life, and it was more just to actually when I did my book, I debuted it at a strip club. Most people go to bookstores. I'm like, nah, I'm going to Sapphires and the new one on the west side, and I did it over there. And I'm like, and the publishing gave me pushback. They're like, that's not how we do things. I'm like, well, I'll do it myself. I called up the guy within 24 hours. He secured the venue for free. He was throwing in a DJ. He, doing a champagne hour. He was like, I'm down with that. And I went there with my books. A bunch of strippers were like, hey, how do we save this money? Like, we're making so much money here. So that's another conversation. But yeah, why can't I enjoyed that. Like, why can't we enjoy it? Why is it about men? Men like seeing women there too. That's not your house. It's our house. There's more women than
Right.
men there.
There were
So
guys. I have friends. They look down on the strip clubs. I don't. To me, I don't really. I just don't. I'm not made like regular people. I just don't know. Like a strip club, to some people, it's so horrible. And then I have friends that basically live at strip clubs. You know, I just look at it as a place where you go. I always look at things from a business point of view. It was good for business. My clients used to go there. The brokers loved to go there. And, I'm not going to fight City Hall. You want to go, we did a deal. Everybody made a lot of money. Everybody's getting bonuses. And people, let's go for dinner at the strip club. And then I gave everybody money. And that came out of my trial. Ross was American Greed. I'm the finale of season 9.
Contributing member to society.
I
That's the way I
mean,
look
what's
at
the
it.
what's the big deal? The casino, the strip club, it's just another spot. I understand that your publisher might have found that a little edgy, but that's the kind of gal you are, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. I wouldn't want to be like everybody else. That's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear in life. I just don't want to be like everybody else. I like being a different kind of guy. So you're you're an outgoing person in general. You're
I say
affable.
so.
You're
Yeah.
chatty, and Wall Street trains you. It enhances what you have. It's like you go to Wall Street. It's like putting Miracle Grow on your talent. You found that this helps you in life, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I've always been outgoing, salesy, and not afraid and curious, and not afraid to talk to people and to ask questions. And yeah, Wall Street just gave me the boost that I needed to show me that I can do anything I wanted to do.
Now,
You know,
one of the things that it's a question that I have because I'm interested. You know, as a woman, you're an attractive woman. You mentioned you're built right, so the fact that you have sort of a silver tongue, quick talking, etc. That means you're quick thinking, right? I have to. It's unsettling for a lot of men. Have you had trouble in relationships because of, your ability to communicate, etc., being a good-looking woman and all that?
but funny, my friend Buckmaster, we were talking. He goes, Sin, you've always made men uncomfortable. And I said, yeah, that I make them uncomfortable. I think they're just so surprised that I'm just so straight with it. And if I want something, I'll say what I want. But I also think it's super attractive to them because they don't know how to deal with it. But I make a lot of people uncomfortable. I do. I make a lot of people uncomfortable because I say what I want to say and I do what I want to do. And this is my life. It's no one else's life.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to live the life I want to lead because guess what, Ross? I could do everything right and people will still shit on me. So I might as well live the life I want to leave and be happy about it. And so that makes people uncomfortable. That really does. It makes them feel like, well, you should be doing this. You're kind of selfish and you're doing. I'm like, no, I take care of myself. So that's bode me well. I've had success because of that.
I understand that, but has it cost you? Has it caused problems in your relationships with, let's say, your husbands, men, etc.? Like
Well,
I think as a man, it's problematic. I think it's tough for a man to handle you in an odd way. It's a bad word, but men that you love and that you marry and you sleep with and you produce children. I mean, you're like a whirlwind.
oh, he actually said that. So first of all, I've been married to a man and a woman. I've been married to both.
Okay, well, interesting.
Yeah. So my first husband was fantastic. You know what I mean? He understood who I was. He never got in my way. He let me be. But maybe there were times I emasculated him. I don't know. I never thought about it. I was just being me. I
Right.
don't think about it that deep. And yeah, I think it's tough for people and whether you're married to anyone where they feel like you're going to just do what you want to do. And, their opinions matter, but at the end, they don't matter. You know what I mean? I'm
I
still going to
do.
just kind of pick the road I want to go down. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, no one can handle me. I mean, that's never going to happen. If you want to handle me, then that's not the relationship I want to be in. You could be my partner,
I like that. Now I like that. Now we're getting. But you were younger. You weren't always as. Am I allowed to ask how old you are? Or is that a bad question?
Of course, I'll be 50 next year. I'm 49.
Really? Wow. You look
Yeah,
so young.
yeah, I'm 49.
Wow. I'm shocked. That's
Yeah,
crazy. It's a big. That's a big number. Just so you know.
it's a big number.
I don't even
Yeah,
remember 50. Just so you know, I'm
yeah,
68. So guess what? But so married to your first husband, right? It's you were married to a man, and you had children with him.
we had 3 kids together. Yeah,
I see. And then I guess so it lasted for a long minute, and
we were
then
together about 8 years.
okay, three beautiful children, and then I guess it was a divorce, right? And then you met a woman,
Yeah.
and were you always inclined to go that way, both ways, or that's a new thing?
Uh, I don't think I ever had the time to explore it when I was working on Wall Street. I was just surrounded by men. And,
Right.
I'm still attracted to men. I'm not attracted to them. I think, if you know me, like, I don't care what it is. When I want something, I'm going for it. I don't think about, you know, gender, race. I don't care about that stuff. It's like I'm in the mode, and whatever mode I'm in at that time is like, I'm going to just do, And so I was just like, hey, there's this attractive woman, I like her. I think I'll go for her. And that was it. I didn't think about it.
But it wasn't your first time with a woman, right? Or was it? I don't know. I don't know.
No, no, no. It was no, absolutely not. No, it wasn't. I mean, listen, that business gets you thinking to do all sorts of things. And
I
living,
agree.
you're in Florida. All the swingers are down in Florida. Come on, let's call that what
A
it is.
hundred percent.
I raised
Listen,
my kids I raised my kids in Wellington, by the way.
I didn't
You know
know
what I
that.
mean?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. 3 of them still live in Wellington. Well, one of my son goes to UF.
My daughter
And
just
so,
graduated from UF.
oh, okay, okay, there you go. Yeah. So my son is in UF. He's a freshman.
Great
And
school.
so,
Great school.
yeah, great school, great team. That they
It's
did a
like an
great job
Ivy League
last year.
school, believe it or not. It's so it's highfalutin right now. So you'll be coming
Yeah,
down to Florida occasionally. Is
I
that
do. I don't get down to Wellington as much as I used to. They come up. They like the fact that I move around. I'm in LA right now,
you're in
but
LA?
we've lived in. Right now, I'm in
I
LA.
want the audience doesn't know. I want the audience to know this is virtual, and so you're married to a woman now, and you're in LA right now, situated. You have a child with her.
We have one child. So we married actually in. We were living in New York. I think we actually married in Miami Beach.
Oh wow!
And we were living in. Yeah, we lived in New York. I met her in New York. Then we moved. We lived in Paris. We've lived in Lisbon. I moved back to New York top of last year, and then this year I moved to LA.
Is it
I
fair
move
to ask?
around.
White girl, black girl, Chinese girl, Oriental girl? What can I say? Asian
Oh
girl?
yeah, of course. She was Russian. She's in a class of her own.
So a white
She was a
girl,
white woman. Yeah,
Russian girl.
white Russian.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Just it's very interesting. You really are experiencing life. I mean, listen, it's amazing the different things you've done. It's crazy. I had no idea you had
yeah,
your children in Florida. I'm so impressed with that. For some reason,
yeah,
I thought you were an LA girl. I don't know. I just know you're there now. Correct? Is that what it is? So
yeah.
you and you mentioned a few times that you pivot, you move. You named a bunch of cities just now. So you're open to opportunities that wherever the opportunities take you. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get it.
There's no limits.
No limit.
It's fun.
It's life. I like to say to people, this is not a dress rehearsal. You don't get a do over. This is it. This is the big dance. So you want to spend your rest of your life dreaming about a Russian girl? Go for it. You want to talk about building an entertainment company? You want to produce movies? Do it. You know what I mean? You want to build your own network? Let's go. I mean, this is it. You know what I'm saying? At some point you close your eyes and who knows where the next place is. I do believe in a next place, but it's probably very, very different than this material world. And so I'm like, what are you so uptight about? People say, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. Fucking do it. I have
Yeah.
friends that have millions of dollars and they talk about this, they talk about that, and they don't do anything. They don't do anything. I said, it's crazy. Well, let's go out. I said, all right, we'll go out. It's just very interesting to me. Like I go to like a buffet and I put like 22 things on my plate. I want to taste different things. It's who I am.
Exactly.
It's who I am.
Hence the Russian girl. Hence the Russian girl. There you go. So
Listen,
you
I'm very
understand.
familiar with Russian girls, but I'm going to leave it at that. And so you've been trained to talk fast, think faster, quick on your feet. You're going to do a podcast. You're going to be great at it. It's going to take you a minute, but you're going to be great at it, and you're going to find that it's going to open up opportunities and doors that you probably don't even know about right now. I'm going to sign 2 deals. I already have the paperwork. Maybe tonight, certainly by Friday. Just things that I really didn't even know about until I just did 130 podcasts in a year. So
Congrats.
I think you're going to be great. You have the right attitude. You're cool as fuck, and good looking. You're still young. To me, you're like a kid. I could be a father.
I feel like a kid. Well, that'd be
Exactly.
creepy because we get along. So yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I get it.
we might be at the strip club together. So yeah, you definitely don't want
I'm
me and my
happy to
dad
do
at the
it.
club.
I'm happy to go. It's been a minute since I've been anywhere, really. But if you could sit across from your younger self, what hard truth would you tell? What hard truth would you tell your younger self? Let's just talk about the 19-year-old girl that's on Wall Street, or the girl that just gets licensed her own book. What would you tell her with all the things you know right now?
Wow, that's such a great question, Ross, because I'm pretty much the same person since I'm 19. I think any of my friends that I've had for almost 4 decades would say the same thing. I learned really early in my life not to take things personally, even if it was. You know,
Interesting.
I just, yeah, I used to think it's their loss. If they didn't want me in the room or if they felt threatened by me, it's their loss. I didn't take it personally. And I know that's a hard thing for people to accept and, you know, acquiesce to, but that's what it needs to be. You can't take things personally. So that's such a good question. I might have to come back to that because I feel like I still follow the same code. I'm still that same girl. I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still willing to think outside the box. I'm still willing to have conversations with anyone. Stephanie sent me a DM and she's like, "Hey, Cin, would you be open to do?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" Like, that's it. I don't have to sit there like, let me contact my agents. Let me do all this bullshit. It's all bullshit. All of that everybody lets distract them is white noise. You know what I mean?
I
It's just
know.
like,
I know
yeah,
that.
it's just bullshit. And
Right.
people need to just say, yeah, you know what it is? They're full, like most people are full of shit. And listen, I may talk shit because I'm from New York. We talk shit, but I'm not full of shit. You know what I mean?
I get it
And so,
100%.
yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I tell myself to eat more organic. So the
I
food
like
fucking
that
is so
one.
bad in the, you know,
I
the,
like that
yeah,
one.
yeah, the food sucks. If I would have known all those years ago what they were poisoning us with, I would have never ever ate half the shit I ate, And so I had to learn that later in life. But yeah, I'd eat more organic. I'd eat more clean.
I
I'd
like
do
that.
more things for my mental health. So yeah, but I did a lot of what I wanted to do. I don't have any regrets,
I love
you
that. That's
know?
so great. I love that. That's a great answer. I mean, as a black woman, you've lived, I think, a different kind of life. I mean, it's just I come from our industry, and I was in that world from 1983, according to the federal government, 2010, so 27 years, and I'm still in that industry, really, without being in that industry. But as a black woman, I feel like you have an opportunity to express a point of view that really doesn't exist right now, and I think that's it's valuable because there's a lot of young black women out there that have no idea that they could go to the stock market. They don't know. How would they know? Who are they looking at and saying, "Oh, wow, she's pretty cool, and she came from nothing, so I could do it too." So I think that's why you could have a big voice if you choose to express it. I don't know what the exact plan is. So you wrote the book. because it came to you. The idea came to you. You banged it out in
Yeah.
3.5 months, and you sold it. You managed to impress a major publishing house, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
And
much. Yeah.
and then you got yourself represented by a serious. Tell us about who represents you right now. How do people find you, etc.
Yeah, so I was repped at the time by an agency that was able to get it, through multiple studios. I had, probably 40 some odd offers before the book even hit the shelf.
Oh wow,
Hollywood came calling. Yeah, Hollywood came calling pretty quickly. I remember I was living in Paris at the time and I had about maybe 60 some odd calls lined up. And I'm like, the book hasn't even come out yet. Like it's coming out in a day or so, but it'll come out.
wow,
And I launched a book and it was like, so it was all about what studio do I want to work with? And here's the thing, Ross, what you don't know. And it's been what,
correct.
2 years since I made that deal. I've learned a lot. I would have done a couple things differently, but no regrets. I initially sold my project to Apple. Apple was really gracious about, wanting to tell this story. Everybody was super impressed in Hollywood. We didn't know that story existed. We didn't know there were black women on Wall Street, of course.
Right?
I mean, guess what? Wall Street looks the same. It's pretty timeless. That's why the story works because it's still it's all white males. Like there's nothing that's changed about Wall Street,
No.
kind of like the publishing industry. And,
Great
Hollywood is,
point. Great point.
yeah, like, yeah, and Hollywood is doing better, but,
I get it.
yeah, so and I'm here to tell the story. And guess what? I'm not here to say you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm telling you what's right, what we can make, and how we make a great fucking movie. And so currently, I'm kind of sitting on it. I'm debating if I want to go into television. I think it makes for me, it makes a great television story. There's so much meat to it. And so, I have a manager, and yeah, people want to hit me. It's not hard. They can get on my Instagram and send me a DM just like your wife did. It's not that hard.
Is that how we got a hold of you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Stephanie sent me a message. I mean, I don't sit there reading every single message, but I like when people are just like, hey, can you do something and just get right to the point. I don't need all the fluff. Just get to the point.
I understand. Trust me when I tell you. Trust me when I tell you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know the game. But
You're
okay,
preaching
so
to the
people can
choir.
find you on Instagram. Under what's your handle on Instagram?
It's just Cin Fabre. Yeah, I'm not big on it. I post maybe every 3 to 4 months, but I'm working on that. I need to be better to do better. I'll tell you what, Ross, like for me, I know no matter what stage and what time, whatever it is that I decide to do something, I'm going to get it done. I know how to get shit done. So if 10 years from now, I want to, do a podcast, I'll do a podcast in 10 years. But right now, this is my time. And so I want to share the wealth in the sense that share the stories, right? That's what you're doing. You're sharing your story.
Correct.
You're letting people know they can do it. Doesn't matter, sometimes how you started, it's where you end. And look at you. You were released a year ago, almost 2 years ago now. You're freaking building this raw media empire. And we're on the horn together, right?
Yep.
So it shows you no matter what it is, you can get it done. And so for me, that's all I want to do. Like either shit or get off the pot. People need to hear that more.
Well, I think you have a really, like a really what they would I'd say a viable project. I mean, Black Wall Street girl. I mean, and your story, the way you talk. I mean, married to a man, married to a woman, children here, there, Paris, L.A., Florida, strip clubs. It has a lot of elements that are very, very exciting, and you don't have like a stick up your ass. I mean, a lot of people, have this posture that they was one way and now they're a different way. I'm the same guy, and I've been to the highest of heights. I've addressed Parliament twice in England. The last time
Oh,
was
wow.
right. The last time I opened up Parliament in May of 2005 with the Queen of England, the Queen that just passed, Queen Elizabeth, King Charles's mom, and she passed the torch to me, and we were together in like the green room, if you want to call it that, at Parliament, and I spoke. I had 250 guests that I could invite. It was my second time in Parliament, so I know I killed it the first time because they invited me back and all these different things. But I'm the same guy when I walked into that little 66 square foot cell with on a 3 bunk bed with Mike and Henry. They're like, see this white guy walk in. They said they read my paperwork, and
Oh, okay.
they said you're all right, Ross. You can bunk with us. You're not a rat or a chomo. I said, what's a chomo? They said a child molester. They said like 90% of the old white guys that come to prison today are child molesters, pedophiles, and all that kind of stuff. All you did was manipulate the whole stock exchange in London.
No, you get high fives for that. You get respect for that.
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't plea and I didn't make a deal and I didn't write anybody out and I took the government to trial. I'm still fighting the government. I mean, believe it or not, I'm still fighting. But so I'm that guy. I'm the same guy I was, I'll always be. But I'm pivoting now and doing something that I always thought was really cool, and then I discovered that there's no barrier to entry now. And for the first time in human history, 8 billion of us are connected, and because of AI, there's no longer a language barrier. I speak now. My content is translated in Hindi and
Oh, that's
Portuguese.
dope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get.
I lived in Lisbon, so that's cool. I used to live in Lisbon, so yeah.
I didn't see you mention that. Yes, and I got these Brazilian people now hitting me up, and all the Indians discovered me now because the content is translated. They told me it's going to be translated in over 100 languages by the end of sometime during 26. So it's a cool place to be. You have this color advantage and this gender advantage, being a woman, being uh, dark skinned, uh, in an industry that is, you're right, it's probably still white. I mean, I haven't been there lately. The game has changed terribly. They're not even allowed to have social media. They just, the big boys came in and institutionalized it. When I was there, it was the Wild West in the 80s. Even in the 90s, it was much looser than it is today, from what I understand. I have a lot of friends that are still in the business, registered, and all that stuff. But again, you have a message. Is a lot of brown skinned women in the world that, for the first time in human history, are going to be connected with us. Be able to watch this podcast in Swahili and fucking Farsi and Arabic and French and every language you could think of, right? And you are uniquely positioned to share your life story and your work story and let people know that if I can do it, you can do it. That's really a great message. What I like to do, Cin, I like to end every podcast with a particular question that I think is pretty cool. This is in 2 weeks. It'll be New Year's Eve, right? It's 2025 right now. 5 years from today, it'll be 2 weeks before the New Year's Eve of 2030.
Okay.
Where are you going to be in 2030? 5 years from today. Where is Cin Fabre going to be?
I definitely will be on probably a Ponali. Ooh, that's ooh, 5 years because I move around so much. Yeah, that's a good question. As much as I don't like the water, I love the beach. I go to the beach. I like to read. I like to have a hard apple cider. Yeah, maybe I'll be in Tahiti somewhere, like just,
Ooh,
I'm getting fed. Someone's waving me, feeding me pineapple, men and women. I mix it up. I don't care. You know what I mean?
I do know. I like that.
Getting my oils legged, my butt massaged, whatever, like, yeah. And whoever wants to join me can join me. You know what I
Living good.
mean?
Living good. Bora
Yeah.
Bora, maybe.
Bora Bora, yeah,
Tahiti.
anywhere. Tahiti, possibly. I might be going to Tahiti in a few months. So I don't know that I'll go back. But yeah, wherever I want to go, wherever I want to be, that'll be my choice. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Good. It's open.
That's
You don't have a
it's open.
defined plan yet.
No,
You,
because that's what life is, right? Like I
right.
don't have it planned out, but I'm open to anything.
I love that. I want to say it's been a privilege having you here today, getting to know you, my new friend, Cin Fabre.
Yeah.
What a woman. If you guys haven't seen this book, Wolf Hustle, this is the real deal. You just spent some time with her and you got to know her. And she is a very, very cool, a very amazing woman. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Ross. It's been a pleasure. I love chopping it up with you today.
Appreciate that.